Welcome back to the channel. It's been a while. I've been pretty busy. Shit happens, life changes. Finally kind of back to where I can get back to making YouTube videos and get back to my projects. So I figured I'd just do a little video on where everything's at and why I haven't really done anything. But here we go. Last thing I was really working on was probably the Volvo. Still just killing time on that. It's just something to do. The Dakota, I want to do more intake testing. It's got the dual plane on it. I modified for the fuel injection. But when I dynoed it, it only made just a little bit more at the very top end. So I don't know if it was really a fair comparison, and I'm not made out of money. So what I've done, I've ordered a much larger cam. Well, decently larger. It's got a 216, 224 in it now. I think it's about 530 lift. What I ordered, and that was on a 114 lobe separation. I've ordered a 236, 242 with about 580 something lift on a 110 lobe separation. So I really think the cam's been holding it back, because everything we did, the push rods, which I expected a very little gain, especially the crap ones, I expected them to deflect a lot. So I figured we'd get a gain here, a little gain there, just testing things. And nothing's really been that great. Even the dual plane over my ported kegger was a very little gain. So I think the cams are really not pushing it that much, because we just barely made it over 300 horsepower at the tires on the dyno with the dual plane, the ported heads, headers, cam, all that stuff. And this thing doesn't lope real hard. It doesn't hit real hard at idle. I can idle this thing at 500, 550 RPM. So I really think that is a good possibility that no matter what we do on the intake side, the engine is already doing what it's going to do with that cam. So before I continue to do any more intake testing and throttle body testing, I've ordered a much larger cam so that we can really stress things. Now, it's not the biggest cam in the world, but it's as big as I'm going to go for the street truck. And I'm hoping that gives us the results we want. I don't think I'm going to put the stock kegger back on, but I will put my ported kegger on and compare that to the Hughes, or not to the Hughes, to my version of the Hughes, the Edelbrock dual plane with the EFI bungs welded in. So that's why it's just been sitting. I ordered the cam a little over a month ago from Hypotech. It's getting custom ground from Comp. It took a while because they were out of cam cores, so now it's just a waiting game. So hopefully cam soon for that, and then we'll get back to dynoing it and playing with things. Eventually it's either going to get cheap turbo or a Torque Storm supercharger. I'm leaning towards turbo just because I like to fab all that stuff up and it's cheaper, but we'll see. I finally fixed the transfer case in this thing, and I've been wheeling it, but it's pretty ragged out now with stock suspension. So let's see, I bent some control arms, broke the transfer case in half. I kind of bent the front up a bit too. I really didn't want to do that. Plan was to build a front bumper before I caved that in, but here we are. Now I got to straighten that out to build a bumper. I think I'm going to build a bumper for the back, all in time. Rocker panels, I want to do that too. But I'm really going to look at, I think I'm going to build kind of a subframe, maybe, to bolt on my suspension to, so that whenever this gets rolled or whatever happens to it, I can just take my stuff off, buy another cheap ZJ, and slap it back on. So anyway, this thing's going to get some love. For the engine in this thing, I'm working on a straight runner manifold. I've cut it off about right here. We'll get into that in another video later when I get further along with it. Plan is to fabricate a plenum and make it so you can take the plenum off of the intake. Now, in order to do that, the length I've chosen to leave the runner, because I didn't want to mess with the power steering bracket, is wherever that lands. So the throttle body is still behind it, which means I've either got to move the throttle body over so I can make it an easy two-piece plenum to intake, or I'll have to just build it like this is and weld it all in where you can't take it apart. I haven't decided on that yet. I like the idea of making a multi-piece, because then if I ever want to change it later to like a front mount throttle body, I could just change one part of it. I don't have to cut and weld and do a bunch of stuff. I can leave the base intake manifold alone and play with the plenum all I want, sizes, shapes, whatever. But we'll get into that in another video. Eventually this thing needs rebuilt. It's got 320 something thousand. It's got enough blow by. The blower right now pretty much makes up for the amount of blow by, because it made 125 without boost and 195 with boost. And I think there's a lot of guys making 195 with some bolt-ons. So that's just how worn out this thing is. Just at idle, you can see it smoking out the back. So in order to make more power and push this thing further, just gonna have to rebuild it. And maybe we do a stroker while doing that. I'm not sure. For the most part, what I do with this thing, I don't drive it on the street. It's in the woods. It doesn't need to have 300 horse, 400 horse. But I've been tuning a lot of these remotely, so I might as well see how far I can push my own. Still got the Challenger. I haven't done anything to it, and I'm not going to until it's out of warranty. I did the same thing with my Civic up there. I didn't mess with it until it was paid for and out of warranty. Eventually, I want to do a 426 stroker and a Whipple, but that's dreaming big. We'll see where that goes. Right now, I just drive it daily. And with gas prices, it's getting stupid hard to drive it, and that's why the Civic's up there. I don't remember how many months it's been, but it's been gone for a while, so if any of y'all are still looking out for my videos, I appreciate it. My feet are back under me for the most part, so I'm ready to get back to working, get back to trying things, and definitely ready to get back to doing some fabrication. I'm not fully convinced I'm going to do it. I've got the 5.3 in the Volvo, and that's my nitpick project while I'm waiting on parts or waiting on things. That last video was me getting the engine bolted in with the Corvette mounts, and it's in there. I'm going to slowly nitpick at that too. I've been looking at 8-1 headers and what people do, and they're really hard to do and fancy, and I think I'm going to build something close to that in that car, just because I think it'd be cool. I just hope I can replicate that sound, and that's really all I want to do to that. 5-speed, 5.3 in the Volvo. If it could stay stock looking and make that awesome 8-1 racket, that'd be cool. But, these videos will be coming out slowly. I've got to save up to buy part by part, but keep an eye out and we'll keep moving forward. Thank you.